Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor. At this time last night in Washington, D.C., the House Committee on Oversight had its first select subcommittee hearing on China. One of the members of that select committee is Rob Wittman. He's congressman from the 1st Congressional District of Virginia, and he joins us now. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Larry, thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
Well, the launch of this committee, of course, comes when a lot of stories are in the news involving China, not least of which the revelation from the Energy Department that it sure looks like that COVID-19 came from the laboratory in Wuhan. I'd love for you to sort of expand on that aspect of the investigation of what the committee is doing, but some of the other avenues that you're going to be looking at.
Absolutely, Larry. Where the committee is looking at all of these different connections with China's nefarious activities against the United States, including what happened there at the Wuhan Lab. In fact, I have a bill called the World Deserves to Know Act, which holds China accountable, also divulges where we sent money to China for this gain of function research. That'll be one of many places that we look. We look at what they're doing in financial markets. We look at what they're doing in the realm of national defense. What are they doing to build a military that holds our military at risk around the world? What are they doing in this insidious way that targets our children and targets shaping their thoughts and ideas through the infiltration in different applications of media? All of those things incredibly important, as well as purchasing prime farmland, agricultural lands in the United States. It goes right down the list, Larry, at every aspect of family security, financial security, national security. The Chinese are trying to defeat us in every way possible.
I want to hit almost all of those topics if I can. Let's start with that last one about buying up farmland. This should be bipartisan. In fact, I'm encouraged by the fact that Democrats joined Republicans in the formation of this committee. A lot of Democrats in the House voted for this. But in your home state of Virginia, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Democrats in the Senate actually acted to block a bill that would have prevented the Chinese Communist Party from buying farmland near American military bases. In
Yeah.
Virginia, I'm sorry, I don't want this to be partisan, but it is. Why don't Democrats get it?
They should. To Governor Youngkin's credit, he led the way, and finally that abolition of being able to purchase in these situations around military bases will come to fruition in Virginia, as well as Republican governors in other states. Larry, what this shows is that President Biden needs to lead the way and say this should be a national policy. It should be not only on prime agricultural lands, but on strategically important lands around our military bases. The president has refused to lead, has been absent in leadership and leading the way for this. This is an easy place where we can agree across the aisle to say stop allowing the sale of these prime agricultural lands and strategically important lands around our military bases.
Good. Taking your list backwards, you also mentioned the insidious use of social media to get to our children, these algorithms at TikTok that actually sort of exploit the very worst of our subculture. TikTok doesn't look that way over in China, I assure you. The kids who are elevated in the algorithm are the kids who are acing science and building rockets.
Yes.
Again, this should be bipartisan.
Yes.
The Biden administration allowed TikTok to continue to thrive here in America. The Trump administration tried to block it. Should TikTok be banned in this country?
Absolutely, Larry. And it should be, again, a national issue. And the president refuses to lead on this. This is a threat to the homeland. This is the effort by the Chinese Communist Party to influence our children and our grandchildren in very insidious ways. This ought to scare the heck out of people because they want to shape our children's thoughts and ideas and their viewpoints. That is not what this nation is about. If we don't stand strong against not just TikTok, but other platforms that seek to either influence or, even more problematic, to gather data on individuals across the country, to gather data on our children so they can use artificial intelligence to direct what happens with this country. If we don't act on that in a bipartisan way, then shame on us.
Congressman Whitman, you also mentioned the military buildup, and we keep hearing about this huge, strong Chinese Navy, including a huge buildup in submarines, which, as you know, especially coming from the first district in Virginia with Hampton Roads and Norfolk, submarines are incredibly important in terms of surreptitious military excursions around the planet. Add to that this fiasco of the spy balloon that looked at our missile silos and Air Force bases unabated, and with full permission, it appeared, from the Biden administration. This is not a country that's acting like they're our partner on the planet. They're acting like an adversary, like an enemy.
Well, they are absolutely an adversary, Larry. Let's not call it other than what it is. They are an adversary. They seek to harm the United States. They seek in many ways to destroy our standing in the world, whether it's in financial markets. And you point out a balloon, a Chinese spy balloon flying over sovereign territory. Now, you know, if the United States did the same thing, the minute that balloon from the United States got into Chinese territory, they would have shot it down. This administration saw this balloon as it left Hannum Island, flew across the Alaskan Peninsula into the United States, and didn't shoot it down until it exited the United States off of South Carolina. That is an abdication of leadership. It is a dereliction of duty to protect this nation. And all the things that that Chinese spy balloon was able to gather, including what was the United States' reaction to what
Yeah.
was a threat, that should sober everyone across the nation as to what truly Chinese Communist Party has in mind for the United States.
Yeah, it was a toe in the water. It was, let's see what they'll do. And well, they saw what we'll do, at least under this president. Congressman, though, sticking with I have no doubt that our submarines are better. I have no doubt that our ships are better. Our aircraft carriers are second to none as well. But just in terms of sheer volume, the buildup, the number of ships and boats that the Chinese Navy has, are we keeping up?
Unfortunately, we are not. Last year, the Biden administration put in a defense budget request that built 8 ships, or requested to build 8 ships, 7 of them warships, one a tugboat, and retired 24 ships. Larry, I'm not a mathematician, but you cannot do addition by subtraction. That, again, is an abdication of the responsibility to defend this nation. This challenge in the Indo Pacific from China will be a Navy Marine Corps led fight. You can't do that without ships. Our attack submarines lead the world. They are the best submarines on Earth. And why we aren't doing everything we can to ramp up submarine production is beyond me. I've been to the submarine yards here recently, and our industry is coming back from the effects of COVID and hiring back folks, and I think have the capability to build at least 2 submarines a year. I think we need to build more. But when the administration doesn't send the demand signal, doesn't say we need to build more, then you cannot expect the industry to say, well, we're going to do that on our own, because they have to have the demand signal from Washington. We have to do our job. I can assure you,
Yeah.
this year, National Defense Authorization Act, we will do just that. We will continue to build ships for this nation and to counter the Chinese.
Finally, Congressman, we only have less than a minute left, but with regard to the virus, you mentioned gain of function research at Wuhan Lab. As you know, Anthony Fauci has already said under oath in the Senate with Senator Rand Paul that no U.S. dollars went to gain of function research. There was no gain of function research. We know that's not true. Will your committee be calling Anthony Fauci up to testify again? And if you find that he's perjured himself, will there be any repercussions?
Well, remember, the select committee can call up witnesses and can do those investigative reports. As far as legislation, we have to rely on other committees to do that. But we will indeed go through that period of discovery. Now, the chairman hasn't made a final determination on who the witnesses will be. But if Dr. Fauci is called before the committee and he is found to perjure himself, I can guarantee you that members will hold him accountable, and that's what we should do. That's our constitutional obligation to do that.
Congressman Rob Wittman, Virginia, thanks for joining us. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight. You're watching Salem News Channel.